Alright, back at you. Today we're going to do a quick video on tying up some fishing line. So Chad and I were both struggling to see our line, so we're going high vis from green. I actually had a red braid on, so he's going with...
I went with yellow, high vis yellow. I'm gonna see how this works, how good I can see it out there. Might be switching to white if I don't like it.
I've tried yellow. I'm not a fan. I have not tried white, so we're gonna try white. So I'm gonna put white on mine. Chad's gonna put yellow on his. Power Pro, not sponsored. 10-pound test, both same thing. 10-pound test. There's a bigger spool just because I got 3 I gotta do. He's only got the 1. So the first thing you're going to do with your spinning reel is you're going to have a mono backing or a fluoro backing, and the reason you're doing that is so that because the braid will spin on the spool, so the mono and the fluoro kind of dig into the braid or dig into the spool so it doesn't slip. So we've already got that on there. Basically, you can just tie an overhand knot on that. You're going to wrap, wrap 3 or 4, 5, 6, whatever times around there. And that's just the mono big game, cheap stuff. Whatever, you're never going to get down to the backing. We're going to put too much line on to ever get down to that. So then you're going to take and just tie your braid, your normal braid to leader knot, which we'll go over real quick. You're going to make a loop with your mono or your backing, and then you're going to go take your braid, go through it 6 times down, 6 times back. So same knot I showed you in the knot video. So there's 6 times down, and then we're going to go 6 times back over those crosses the best we can. And then the biggest key is once you're 6 and 6, that both lines are coming through that loop the same direction. I don't know how well you can see that, but they're both going down. We'll link the knot video so you can see it if you haven't seen it already. Moisten it so you don't burn the line. Pull tight, both tag ends, both main lines, and you got a really simple, tiny knot there. There was a big spit bubble on it, that's why it was a little bit bigger, but and then just like if you were tying the other end, the fluoro leader or whatever, you're gonna nip the your base line or your backing line as close as possible. You can leave a little bit of a tag end with the braid because it's soft, it's limp, it's gonna lay wherever. So in the end, that's what you got. Tug on it a little bit, don't put too much pressure, and that's where we're at. How you doing?
I left too short of a tag.
Well, you got 100 yards there, you could just start over. It'll be alright. Okay. Then, because we're putting braid on, it's not that big of a deal which way your spool is laying, whether it be face up or face down. I'm just going to lay it on the ground and kind of keep the rod tip directly over it and pinch my line with my fingers up here so that there's some tension, not super tight, but you want to be able to put some tension on it. And then yeah, you're just gonna The rod tip is like 90 degrees right over the spool right now. So it's not flying all over the room or anything crazy. And we're just gonna spool it up. Keep your fingers there for the tension. And you want to leave about 1/16, 1/8 inch left on the spool, so that there's so you're not coming off the spool when you're casting. Seems pretty good. Maybe a couple more wraps. Yeah, I can go a few more. And that's where I'm stopping. So I'll show you how much space I got left. If you can see that, that's how much space I'm leaving. You can see that. And that should be good to go. I'm going to nip it off, and then I'm going to tie my fluorocarbon leader on there. Which is generally somewhere between 7 and 20 feet. How you doing?
We're doing it.
Did you start over? Alright, I'll be right back. 8-pound sniper. Same knot we just did. Same way we just did it.
You gonna put pressure on it then? I know.
For sure. Back up.
So I don't have to pinch it then?
There you go. No. And hopefully you can get 2 spools out of 100 yards,
150.
150 yards. Use more backing if you need to. You can spool a quarter of that spool with 8 12-pound mono, and then half a spool of braid, and then your leader. I'd say that's good. And this, I like to bring the knot. I'm just putting a little bit of this on. You don't even have to hold this. I like to bring the knot to the big eye basically, and then I cut off another 6 feet. So what is that? Probably, I don't know. Like I said, 10, 15 feet, somewhere in there probably. Doesn't really matter. Some guys hate putting the knot into the reel. I don't mind it for me because I think my knot's fine. But if that knot's too clunky, it'll catch in that braid and you'll have problems. Reel number 2 is
My frog rod.
frog rod. It's gonna have Power Pro again, non-sponsor, great line. Original Power Pro, not the slick stuff. Although some people like the slick stuff. And this is 65 pound. Same thing. Unless your spool has a hole you're gonna tie it to. Yours does, doesn't it?
I'm not sure.
Okay. So you can either do one of two things. You can tie directly to the spool if there's like some of the spools on the baitcasters have holes through them or slots through them, and you can just tie right through that, right to the reel. Or again, use the mono backing, or a couple times around with fluoro. Mono or fluoro will stop that braid from slipping on the spool. So Chad's going to use the backing because it was already on there, basically. So there's really only one more tip for all of this spooling, and that will come with the fluorocarbon. Braid is limp, which just means that it's not going to keep its shape. There's no memory. So the 65-pound braid will be fine no matter, again, whether you keep the spool with the logo side up or the logo side down. Doesn't matter. But when it does matter is when you do the fluorocarbon or mono, because that has memory, and ultimately what you're trying to do is the way that it's put on the spool, on this spool at the factory, is the same way you want to put it on your spool on your pull. Just because the way that the bend is going, there is some memory in this stuff, and you want the bend the same way as the reel. So we'll show you that in just a second. So I'm gonna tie this. Well, no, I guess I'll let you tie if you screw it up. If we lose the fish, I don't want you blaming me. But Palomar knot with the braid. Again, because of the slippage, we don't want it to slip. Palomar knot, strong knot, and it doesn't slip. I leave a little bit of a tag end, like about half the length of the frog, because it doesn't really matter. And make sure that you put the loop on top of the other loop. Watch the knot video. Just like that.
Dude, this stuff's like cable.
Yeah.
I had, I think, 40-pound on before, and it is definitely not this thick. This seems like it'll never break.
It probably will never break. You could probably tow a truck with it. A lot of guys do like the 40 and 50-pound. They say that it cuts through the lily pads and the vegetation a little bit easier because it's not as thick. I say let's wrench on them. 65. Other guys go up to 80-pound too, so 65 is kind of where I lie with that. All right, now this one, last one, this is basically your what, Texas rig.
This is my really all-around rod since I only have 4 of them. I pretty much do everything with this. Anything from our 5-inch swim baits to a Texas rig, and everything in between, really.
So, along with an all-around rod goes an all-around line. 15-pound fluorocarbon is
except
great.
top water. I don't throw anything top water on this, so
yes,
that's why it's fluoro.
Yeah, fluoro sinks, so you don't want to use it for the top water. Okay, so with this, what do you got as a spool? I think you got holes in this.
I do. I got holes. So we're gonna thread it through the holes, yeah, and just tie basic over end knot.
Probably 2 of them.
Yeah, I usually do 2.
And you can see how it's got memory. You can see the coils. I don't know if you can tell on there or not, but there's little coils. That's the memory I was talking about.
Should I try and get the tag end all the way down or no?
No, it'll cover it up. Okay, something I want to point out real quick. Chad did not go through that. That is not an eye. That's an eye. That's a bait keeper. Don't run your line through that. So somebody new to a bait caster might think that the line should go through there as a guide. Do not do that. The next thing is, so when you turn your handle, you can see which way your spool is going, and that's the way you want it to match this. So when we turn this handle, It is going, what way would that be? Counterclockwise.
Back towards you if you're
Toward-
holding the reel.
Towards you, right? So, what I prefer a second person holding it, and you want to make sure that it's coming off the spool,
Off the top.
off the top. So we're gonna pull it off the top like that. Basically, it's going on the same way it's coming off. So, hold a little tension until he gets going, and then
And he's just putting light pressure on it so there's no slack in the line.
exactly.
So
And
the line goes on tight. There's no looseness in it.
And if you do get any loose wraps in there or something, you can always, if you're in a boat, just let it float behind you and then reel it in tight as there's pressure on it that way. But if you got 2 people, you shouldn't have that problem.
This is a lot easier with 2 people. It can get a little tricky when you're by yourself doing this.
This particular spool, if Chad was alone, we would lay on the, he would lay it on the ground, and the label side would be up. I feel like the majority of them are label side up, but don't take that as gospel. The other thing you can do is you can use your shoe and kind of put tension on it that way with a shoe. And there's actually elastic bands that have a little hole that you can also use. They all work. Any method works, but if you got a second person, that's generally the easiest. Good to go? Good to go. That's how you spool braid fluoro on a spinning reel and on a bait caster. So, any closing thoughts, comments?
No. Stay tuned for future videos. Like, subscribe. If this is your first video watching, thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you again.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.